This problem involves programming with methods. We're asked to write a complete program that produces the following output, and to use at least one method to help eliminate redundancy. Basically, it's just a fancier version of the Hello World program that has some extra output. Now, when you're asked to solve a complicated problem like this, it's a good idea to use the technique that's described in the textbook, called iterative enhancement. So the idea is to pick off some small piece of the problem and to solve just that part of the problem. Then you enhance your solution to do a little bit more, enhance it to do a little bit more, and so forth until you've got a complete solution. So let's focus on this line that has Hello World on it. Let's write a program that just produces that one line of output, and then we'll go from there. So this line begins with 3 of these vertical bar characters, Hello World with an exclamation mark, and then 3 more vertical bar characters. So we can switch into JGrasp, and let's write a program that produces that line of output. So obviously we will need to have a class, so we can say public class, how about if we call it fancy hello, and every class has to have a set of curly braces to indicate what's inside of the class. And then since this is supposed to be a program, we have to have a public static void main with string bracket bracket args. And main needs its own set of curly braces to indicate what's inside of main. And then inside of here, we can include whatever instructions we want to have executed. So since we're just producing one line of output, we can have a single system.out.println, and inside of here we'll indicate what we want it to print. So we use a quotation mark to open a literal string, and then we just type in the characters that we want it to print. So we want 3 of these vertical bar characters, Hello World with an exclamation mark, and then 3 more vertical bar characters. We use another quotation mark to end the literal string, a right paren to end the println, and then every statement has to have a semicolon at the end. So that's, we think, a correct program. We can make sure by asking JGrasp to compile it, see if it compiles properly, and it does. Then we can ask JGrasp to run it, and we see that it produces as output that line of text that we were looking for. So that's a good start. So to add to this program, let's deal with this line that comes above the Hello World. So this line has 3 slash characters, a bunch of stars, and then 3 backslash characters. So we'll need another statement inside of main. So we can say that we want a system.out.println that has 3 slash characters, a bunch of stars, and then 3 backslash characters. And then we'll close our quote and have the right paren and the semicolon. We can go ahead and compile this. Oops, and we get a bunch of errors reported by JGrasp, all starting on this new line that we just introduced. And what it's saying is that we have an unclosed string literal, a bunch of other error messages being reported here. Often when Java gets confused, it gets very confused, so a single mistake can turn into a whole bunch of different error messages. So let's take a look at this line that we were just typed in. So it looks an awful lot like the line below it. We have the system.out.println, the parens, we got our quotation marks and so forth. So somehow there's something different about this line. And the key thing here is that it has to do with these backslash characters. So the backslash character is a special character in Java that's used to form escape sequences. So what's happening is that when Java sees this first backslash character, it says, it swallows up the character right after it, and it makes that an escape sequence. And so these 2 backslash characters together are interpreted as a single backslash character. Then what comes after that is another backslash character, and it absorbs the character after it, which is a quotation mark. So that pair of characters is considered an escape sequence. In fact, that's the escape sequence for including a quotation mark in the middle of a string. So that quotation mark is not closing our string, and JGrasp is showing us with a little green coloring here that something odd is going on. So this is not what we want to have happening here. We want to produce 3 backslashes as output. So in order to do that, we need to have a total of 6 different backslash characters inside of our string. So each pair of backslashes, this pair right here, this pair right here, and this pair right here, each pair represents a single backslash character on output. So it looks a little odd here in the editor, but let's try compiling it. and it compiled properly, and we'll run it. And you can see that here we have just the 3 / characters being produced as output. So even though it looks a little odd here, that's actually the right thing to do. So let's go back to our sample output and deal with this line that comes after the hello world. So it begins with 3 / characters, a bunch of stars, and then 3 / characters. So we want a third println statement, system.out.println, and then this one will have 3 / characters, a bunch of stars, and then 3 / characters. And I'm once again making the mistake that I made before, not worrying about the issue of the backslashes, but let's just kind of see what happens. We try compiling it, and it doesn't even compile again. Here it's upset about an illegal escape character. So again, the problem is we have these 3 / characters. If we really want to produce 3 backslashes as output, we need to have a total of 6 / characters there. So we can recompile and run this version of the program. And now we get the 3 lines of output that we're looking for, kind of the main output in this program. Now for those 3 lines, we obviously want to get 3 sets of those 3 lines of output. So one way to do this would be to have 9 different println statements, but that would be rather redundant. We'd like to capture the structure of something like this. I mean, really it's the same thing 3 different times. So this is where we want to introduce a method. So what I'm going to do, we're still going to have method main, and so I'm going to go ahead and put a little space in here. So we're going to fill that in a second. But I'm going to move these 3 println statements into their own little method. So we'll have a public static void method that we can call, say, hello, and it has its own set of curly braces. So what I've done now is to take those 3 println statements that we had before, and I've wrapped them up as a method. I've given them a name, so that when I say hello, the hello method, what I mean is to execute those 3 println statements. So then of course we have to go back to main over here and say what instructions we want to have executed. And what we'd like to do in main is we'd like to call the hello method once, we'd like to call the hello method a second time, we'd like to call the hello method a third time. And that's the way we're going to solve this problem. So I can stretch this down a bit. We can see the complete program. So hello method involves these 3 printlns. We're going to do it 3 different times from the calls here in method main. And we're going to get a fair amount of output here. So let me move this back up. Let me recompile, make sure that that works. And then we'll try running it. What we get now is 9 lines of output. So 3 sets of those 3 printlns, which is pretty good. Almost done, but if you look closely, you'll see that there's a blank line right here, and that there's a blank line right here. Not so clear whether there's a blank line here or whether a blank line there would be allowed, so that might limit the possibilities for how you would solve this problem. If you're allowed to have that blank line, then we can put a system.out.println right here. This would be an empty println. We don't put anything inside the parens. That's how we produce a blank line of output. And by putting it here, it's going to be done 3 different times. So we're going to get 3 blank lines. So that produces an extra blank line at the very end. And if that's okay, then this would be a way to solve the problem. So let's make sure that compiles, which it does. Let's give ourselves a little room to see the output. And we'll try running it again. And now we have the hello world 3 different times, but a blank line here, a blank line here, and an extra blank line here at the end. Now, it may not be acceptable to have that blank line at the end, in which case we'd have to use a slightly different solution. So if that wasn't allowed, then we couldn't have it here. What we could do instead is we could say, well, let's put them in main. So we'll produce our 3 lines of output by calling hello, and then a system.out.println to produce a blank line. Call hello to produce our 3 lines, system.out.println to do a blank line, and then call our hello to do 3 lines again, and no println at the end. So this would be a way to do that without any of those extraneous blank line at the very end. Let's stretch it back up and let it run. And now we have the exact output we were looking for, no extraneous blank line at the end. So that's our complete solution to this problem.